Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Shamaprabha Nirviknam Kurume Deva Sharvakayeshu Sharvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Mishada. Suklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sharva Vigno Pashantaye. Salutations to Lord Hanuman, who is present wherever or whenever Ramayana is being read, or wherever, whenever the names of Lord Rama is being chanted. Yatra yatra raghunama kirtanam tatra tatra krisamasta kanjalim bashpavari paripurna lochanam marutim namatha raksha shantakam. Pujantam Rama Rameti Maduram Maduraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam. Jai Sri Ram to everybody. We are now in the 31st session of this Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. Total number of sessions we have is 32 sessions. So we are at the 31st session, where we are going to look at some of the important or controversial topic within Valmiki Ramayana. Many of you know the controversial topic in Valmiki Ramayana. One is a Vali Vadam, the other one is a Sita's Agni Pariksha. So we're going to cover the topic on Sita's Agni Pariksha in this session's 31st session. Now, before we go into this 31st session, let's look at what we have covered in our previous session. The previous session, session 30, we had covered Yuddha Khandam from chapter 93 to 108. Okay. Now in chapter 93. Now before chapter 93, if you are familiar with the previous chapters, after Kumbhakarna had been killed by Rama, and then Indrajit was killed by Lakshmana. In order to kill Indrajit, Lakshmana used Indra Astra. Indra Astra was used by Lakshmana to kill Indrajit. The Vanaras became very enthusiastic, and then their morale was high because when it is said that Indrajit has been defeated, it is almost like Ravana has been defeated. So they were very enthusiastic. They fought fearlessly with the demons. And Rama, in the chapter 93, if you go through chapter 93, he also fought fearlessly. And he destroyed the troops of the Rakshasas. And the Rakshasas lamented over the death of their king and king. They started to curse. They started cursing, starting from Surpanaka and all the things that Ravana had done. Ravana, he did not listen to the advice of Vibhishana, Kumbhakarna, all that they were lamenting over that. Then Ravana, after the death of his son, that is Indrajit, he is the only warrior. Of course, he had the other warriors like Virupaksha, Mahodara, and also Mahaparshva. So Ravana entered into the battlefield and he fought fiercely with the monkeys. And Sugriva killed two of his great warrior, that is Virupaksha and also Mahodara. And then Angada killed another warrior, Mahaparshva. And then the final battle between Rama and Ravana started. This is the second round of the battle. So in this battle, what happened is that when Ravana saw Vibhishana, he wanted to kill Vibhishana. So he released his weapon, that is Shakti weapon, towards Vibhishana, but it was shielded by Lakshmana came to protect Vibhishana. And Lakshmana was wounded from the weapon that was thrown by Ravana. So Ravana then goes away from the battlefield. So in order to bring Lakshmana to consciousness, bring life back to Lakshmana, Susena requested Hanuman to go to the mountain that he already had gone before in order to revive Rama, Lakshmana, and all the warriors. So Hanuman had to go and bring the mountain back, the Sanjeevi Karani, to give life to Lakshmana. And when Lakshmana came back, and Ramas and the Vanaras morale grew, they became very enthusiastic. They were shouting in joy, and then they started to fight again. And then in the battle, Ravana gets severely hurt, and the charioteer took Ravana away. But Ravana was very angry with the charioteer. He rebuked the charioteer. Why you have to carry me away? I'm not a coward. The charioteer told him about his dharma of a charioteer. And then Ravana re-entered the battlefield. So Rama and Ravana fighting. And sage Agastya appeared before Rama and requested him to pray to the sun. Aditya Hridayam will be given by Agastya to Rama. And then the Devas, when they look at the battle between Rama and Ravana, they find that Rama was on the ground and Ravana is on a chariot. So Brahma requested Indra to send his charioteer, Matali, to Rama. So Matali came to Rama and Rama have taken the charioteer of Indra, and then he fought with Ravana. And then Rama and Ravana perform a fierce battle. And then in terms of comparison, they say a sky is only can be compared to a sky. An ocean can only be compared to an ocean. The fight between Rama and Ravana is uncomparable, just like Rama and Ravana. And finally, in chapter 108, Rama will kill Ravana. So Ravana Vadam completes. The purpose, one of the purpose of Rama's avatara have been completed. So Devas, all the Devas were happy to hear that Ravana had finally been killed by Rama. So before we go into our session, today's session, 31st session, let's look at what are the things, some of the things that we can learn from Ravana. Many things we can learn from Ravana. We can learn from Rama, we can learn from Ravana. In fact, when you study the character analysis that I have shared in the WhatsApp group, written by Krishnan long ago, about Ravana, if you do a reading on that, you will understand character of Ravana very well. All the other characters as well. First, we need to understand Rama. Why Rama have to appear? If you relate to Balakandam chapter 16, all the Devas surrendered to Vishnu. Why they surrendered? Because of the havoc created by Ravana. And it also says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, very famous sloka, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanirbhavati Bharata Abhyutanam Adharmasya Tadatmanam Srijamiham. Whenever there is a decline in Dharma and rise in Adharma, I will descend. I will come. Of course, there is also it continues with the Paripranaya, Shadunam, Vinashaya, Shaduskritam, all that is there. Bhagavad Gita also mentioned when to protect the holy people and to annihilate the unholy or the demons. I will descend yuga after yuga. Shambhavami yuge yuge. I will come yuga after yuga, it is mentioned. So one of the purpose of appearance of Lord Rama is to annihilate Ravana and to protect the Dharma, to re-establish the Dharma. Okay, re-establish the Dharma. How he did that? He did that by his governance. Of course, at the later stage in chapter 128 of Yuddha Kanda mentions about how the leadership of Rama. We all talk about Rama Rajya. Rama Rajya. Rama Rajya is a situations whereby the governance, good governance. We talk about good governance everywhere. Every country wants to have a good governance. One of the model of good governance, you can see outcome of Rama Rajya, which will be in chapter 128. We will go into that next week, chapter 128, which is the last chapter of Yuddha Kanda. We have Rama Rajya. In Balakandam, we learn about Dasarada Rajya. Dasarada Rajya was in Balakandam. Dasarada Rajya, how the citizens, how he selected the minister, what are the qualities of ministers, everything is there in Dasarada Rajya. And then after Dasarada Rajya, before Rama takes over, in between you have Paduka Rajya. Paduka Pattabhisheka. Paduka was installed. So it was under Bharata. Okay, so Paduka Rajya, then Rama Rajya. So Rama Rajya is always, if you do some search about Rama Rajya, many what you call research people have done related to the governance. Even today they are writing something about governance, leadership related to Rama's ideal government from Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, Valmiki Ramayana also talks about leadership and management, about governance. Okay, now coming to Ravana, what are the things that we can learn from Ravana? First thing is that management of ourselves. See, Ravana, if you are able to remember from his exploits, which are more narrated in Uttarakandam of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana, he managed to defeat the Devas. But he lost to Kartavirya Arjuna and also he lost to Vali. It is there. He lost to Vali. Externally, he is able to conquer the enemies. But he was not able to conquer the enemy which is within him. So what we can learn from Ravana is that, first thing, he must not only win the enemy outside. In fact, we shouldn't have enemy outside. The worst enemy that we have, which every one of us have, is the enemies inside us. Okay, we talk about 6 enemies within: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya. Kama, lust, Krodha, anger, Lobha, greed, Mada, pride, Moha, delusion, Matsarya, jealousy. These are the things. These are all was not able to be conquered by Ravana. In fact, Mangunari, when she was wailing, lamenting on the death of Ravana, she mentioned it. This is actually in chapter 111 of Yuddha Kanda. She said that for thousands of years, you have performed austerity by conquering your senses. You're able to conquer your senses. But now it seems that the senses took revenge on you and conquered you. So senses have conquered Ravana. Not Ravana conquered his senses after his tapasya, after he got his boons. So for Ravana, lesson to be learned: never develop lust, okay, and also greed. So look at what happened to Ravana. What happened after he abducted Sita? And he also took and he confiscated the kingdom of Lanka from Kutera and took his Pushpaka Vimana. So first lesson, self-management. Manage your enemies. Understand who are your enemies. Your Satrus. Satripu, 6 enemies. Okay. Second, respect all the living beings. See an equal vision of all the living beings. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verse 18. Panditaha samadarshinha. A pandita is someone who sees an equal vision of all the living beings. Whether it is an elephant, whether it is a cow, whether it is a dog, all living entities. Respect all the living beings. Never insult others without knowing who they are. So look at Ravana, what he did. Once, when he went to Kailasha, Nandi obstructed his path. So he looked at Nandi, okay, the Nandi, bull face, and he said to Nandi, "You look like a monkey." And Nandi was very angry. Nandi, in turn, cursed. "You said that I look like a monkey. Wait for the time that the monkey is going to come for your destruction." So there was a curse by Nandi to Ravana, one of the curse to Ravana. Number 3, do not underestimate anybody. You cannot overestimate or even underestimate. So when Ravana performed severe tapasya to Brahma, which is in the Uttarakandam, how he did tapasya and all that, it is mentioned there, and acquired boon that he cannot be killed by anyone. He acquired boon. So when he wanted to mention, he did not mention or even request for immunity against immunity from humans and vanaras. He didn't include human and vanaras because he thought humans were not powerful enough to fight him. And apparently he was wrong. Number 4, do not be arrogant and boastful. In the case of Ravana, when he found Vedavati doing penance to Vishnu, to have him as her husband, Vedavati. In the Uttarakandam, it is there, Vedavati. He mocked her and grabbed her by hair. And what Vedavati did, she cut her hair and entered into the fire, while cursing him that she will be the reason for his death. So if you look at Vedavati came in form of Sita. You have to also look at not only Valmiki Ramayana, but also some other Puranas as well, in order to understand who Vedavati is. And then where Vedavati went after what they call the Agni Pariksha and all that. Okay, so manage your enemies, which is within you. Respect all the living beings. Don't insult anybody. Do not underestimate anyone. Do not be arrogant or boastful. Okay, and then never underrate someone's power without knowing who he or she is. Never underestimate, underrate. So Ravana once tried to grab Bali from behind when he was offering prayers. Knowing that Ravana was behind him, Vali grabbed Ravana's neck and held captive under his armpit, and then he traveled to ocean to perform his prayers. Well, Ravana nearly choked, he was choked and nearly died. So he underestimated and underrated Vali. And Vali was very powerful. Number 6, listen. When someone advises, at least care to listen. Whether you are going to take the advice or not, that is secondary. We know that Ravana easily cut off Vibhishana's words when he tried to advise him. He prefers just to listen to people who sing their glories. Don't just listen to people who sing your glory. As a leader, you have to listen from various perspectives. And that's what Maricha also said. Do not surround yourself with yes men who always sing your glory. Okay, that is number 6. Number 7, repent to your mistake. Even after knowing that he had done a mistake, he did not apologize to Rama due to his ego. If he has done that, that would have saved him. Many, what he call, warnings he received. Not only from Maricha, Hanuman came, even when Angada came before the start of the war, when all his warriors was defeated, even Kumbhakarna was defeated. Even Kumbhakarna himself said, there is no other way than to return Sita to Rama, but Ravana did not listen. Even Indrajit, at the last moment of his life realized that, and he told Ravana, yet Ravana did not want to listen due to his ego. Number 8, know when to stop. Heal the ego when you cannot fight anymore. Ravana abducted Sita. Rama waged a war against him. He constructed a bridge to Lanka. He killed all the warriors from Ravana's side. His brother Kumbhakarna was killed. His sons were all killed. Narantaka, Devataka, Prahasta, Adhikaya, Indrajit, all were killed. His ministers were killed. Even then, he did not release Sita. And this led to his own destruction finally. He got destroyed. That's number 8 lesson from Ravana. What we can learn from Ravana. Number 9, something positive on Ravana's side. When you read the Uttarakandam, Valmiki reports in Uttarakandam that Ravana performed penance for 10,000 years. Some of you might be wondering, 10,000 years it is possible, but it is mentioned in the Puranas that the time frame, if you look into in Satya Yuga, people used to go up. There is a possibility people live up to hundreds of thousands. And then in what do you call in Trita Yuga is 10 to 100,000. And then in Dwapara Yuga is hundreds of years. In Kali Yuga, about 100 years. This is something you up to you. Okay, whether you want to accept the Puranas as it is or it's based on your interpretation. But what is reported is 10,000 years. And Valmiki Ramayana also reports that Rama ruled for 11,000 years. Okay, that is in Uttarakandam. So 10,000 years he did tapasya in order to get boons from Lord Brahma. And during his penance, Ravana chopped his head 10 times at the interval of every 1,000 years as a sacrifice. And in fact, Ravana became one of the greatest devotees of Lord Shiva, and pleased with his resilience and devotion, Lord Shiva gave him the sword, Chandrahasa. And that is a sword that he used to kill Jatayu, if you remember in Aranyakanda. And the other thing about leadership, Ravana was an efficient and just ruler. We have some sources from Valmiki Ramayana that says that. In his rule, Lanka was considered to have entered the golden era, prosperous period. Lanka was built by Vishwakarma, one of the best architects. Besides Vishwakarma, you have Maya, Danava, which was the father of Mandodari, is also a great architect. Okay, Ravana was also a caring ruler who looked after his subject. But what happened? Because of his lust, everything destroyed. Because of his life. That was these things happened before he met Sita. Before he abducted Sita, he was okay. Everything was okay. But of course, he did harass the devas, the sages, and all that. The other thing about Ravana is that scholarship. He is said to be a great scholar. He's a master of Veena, okay, and has a knowledge of the Vedas and a great chanter of Samaveda, also a great musician. It is mentioned. And Ravana also said to be the author of Ravana Samhita, book on astrology. These are things on Ravana, things that we can learn from Ravana, 11 things that we can learn from Ravana. Okay, even if you are able to take one or two things to apply. Okay, if you relate back, number 1, manage your enemies within. There are enemies, a lot of enemies within us. So if you are able to manage our enemies within, we can become a better person. Enemy within, Satrus are within. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya. Okay, respect all the living beings. Respect all the living beings. Do not insult anybody. Okay, respect all the living entities. All the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme. Okay, Bhagavad Gita mentions that all are part and parcel of the Lord. Okay, do not underestimate or even overestimate. Do not be arrogant or even boastful. Okay, like what happened to Ravana. He was arrogant and he was boastful. Never underrate. What happened when he underrated Vali? Even Kartavirya Arjuna. Listen. Even though you don't want to take, you might not want to take the advice. Don't just cut off people like what happened in the case. Vibhishana's words he didn't listen. Kumbhakarna also he didn't listen. Many, even his wife Mandodari, many times we see he did not want to listen, repent on a mistake, know when to stop, kill that ego, kill that pride, mother. Okay, devotion, leadership. Okay, on a case of Ravana and also scholarship. Ravana was a great scholar indeed. Yes. So Ravana and Rama, the 10 head of Ravana represents the 10 desire. Human beings, when you're looking into, we have desire. It's a physical desire, emotional desire, all these desires. These are the desire. Okay, intellectual and all that. The desire for moksha, desire for liberation, just like we learn dharma, artha, kama, moksha. What we learn here is that Ravana represents the ego that is driven by desire. His 10 heads represents the 10 desire. See, whether we are Rama or Ravana, okay, both Rama and Ravana are also within us. Whether we are Rama or Ravana depends on whether we control the desire or the desire controls us. So if the desire drives us, we are Ravana. But if we are in control of our desire, then we are Rama. So that is a distinction where you look into that Rama and Ravana. We have learned in Valmiki measures, Ravana was a great person, but not a good person. So Rama, for in the case of Rama, he has a greatness and also goodness. Both are there. Okay. Why Ravana is that? It's a nature. Every one of us, we have our vasanas. Vasana, the nature, Shwabhava is there. Just like in the case of Duryodhana, when he was asked, why you always go for Dharma? He said he knows what is Dharma, he knows what is Adharma. He knows Dharma is good, Adharma is bad, but he's still inclined to do Adharma. There's a very famous sloka you find in Mahabharata. Duryodhana mentioned. He says there's something within me that drives me not doing to do adharma but not dharma. That's what answer given by what he called Duryodhana. It is not that he was ignorant. The same case even for Ravana. Okay, that's from session 30th session. So in the 31st session, okay, we are going to look at from chapters 109 to 121. Okay, this is the second last session of our Srimad Valmiki Ramayana, second last session. So what will happen is that chapter 109 onwards, funeral of Ravana. Rama will direct Vibhishana to perform the funeral rites for Ravana. And he will say that enmity ends at that. He's dear to you as well as me. Just like he's dear to you, he's also dear to me. And all the consort of Ravana will lament. Ravana had many wives. All of them came lamenting. Mandodari will be lamenting on Ravana's death. It's a very long chapter of Mandodari's laments on lamenting on Ravana. Very, very long. You also have it in Ramayana also, Mandodari's cries of when Ravana's passed away. And then after that, Vibhishana's installation as a king of Lanka, Rama requested Lakshmana to do it because Rama cannot enter into the city. And Hanuman informed Sita about Rama's victory. Okay, very beautiful chapter about Hanuman, how he narrated, and then all that. Okay, and then Vibhishana will bring Sita to Rama. And what will happen? These are some of the controversial areas later on. After you read chapter 115 and 116, I hope you have read before coming into the class. Because if you have read it before coming into the class, then it shouldn't be any problem at all for you to understand. Because Valmiki Ramayana is very clear. Here Rama disowns her and asks her to seek shelter elsewhere. So the major misconception is that Rama requested Sita to enter into the fire. But when you look at chapter 116, it is Sita who requested for Lakshmana to prepare the fire for her to enter. And why she did that and all that, you can also take a look at from other sources. Not only Valmiki Ramayana, you can even find from Adhyatma Ramayana. You have also Padma Purana. Ramcharitmanas also there. The concept of what they call real Sita and Maya Sita. Okay, Maya Sita, we will come into that part later. And when Sita entered into, after she gave a taunting reply, she gave to Rama, and she entered into the fire. All the gods reached Lanka and approached Rama. Is a Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, okay, all appeared. And then Agni-deva appeared in person, okay, with Sita, and requested Rama to accept Sita. And Lord Shiva informs Rama about his father, and then Rama will have the opportunity to meet his own father. Dasaratha will be there. And Indra will give a boon to Rama, and Rama requested for two. First one is that all the Vanaras who fought for him to be back alive, and then also to make sure there grows abundance of fruits, vegetations in that particular land, all that. Okay, and then 121, Rama prepares to leave for Ayodhya. Vibhishana requested Rama to stay, but Rama said he has to go to Ayodhya because Bharata will be waiting for him. He need to go quickly, and then Vibhishana requested him. Easily we can go within a short span of time if we go by Pushpaka Vimana. Okay, now chapter 109. Chapter 108, we learn Ravana killed. Ravana had been defeated and he was killed by Rama. Okay, one of the purpose of Rama Avadara completed. One of the purpose, only one of the purpose. Okay, so seeing Ravana dead on the battlefield, Vibhishana started to cry. Vibhishana, okay, because his brother, Vibhishana is too attached. Of course, they have difference in opinion. Okay, in fact, you learn Kumbhakarna also had a different opinion. Ravana's, because Ravana is the elder brother. All of them did tapasya together. Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and also Vibhishana. But Vibhishana requested for a boon that may his heart always be on a dharmic path. That's why even when Surpanaka introduced herself to Rama in Aranyakanda, she says only one of our brother which is different from the other is Vibhishana, considered to be a Dharmatma. He mentioned the word Dharma. Okay, so he started to cry. So he is lamenting. What I have predicted has come true. My advice was not released by you. You didn't hear my advice because you were controlled by your lust and delusion. Kama and moha, kama, krodha, moha, all that controls you. Now that you have departed, the glory of Lanka had departed. Lanka's glory also has departed, says Vibhishana. You are like a tree firmly established in heroism, spreading out firmness in all aspects of life. Yet you have been cut down. So he said, you are like an elephant with splendor, noble ancestry, yet you have been killed. You who are blazing, like a blazing fire has been extinguished by Rama. So Rama approached grief-stricken Vibhishana and gently and lovingly said to him, it is not right for you to grieve, O Vibhishana. See, people shouldn't grieve. Because the more you grieve, the more the strength, your energy is being drained from you. This is also what was mentioned many, many times. Lakshmana mentioned to Rama when Rama also was grieving. Sugriva also advised Rama when he was grieving. Grief, one must be able to overcome the grief quickly. Grief is nature, just like any other emotion, anger, okay, what you call happiness, sadness, grief, also all that is but must be able to overcome, must be able to get over it. Okay, one should not grieve for things that are not permanent. Viveka Chudamani is one of the literature where you look into from Shankara. You must understand what is Sat, what is Asat, what is real, what is unreal. One should not grieve for things that are unreal. Remember, this is a famous sloka. In the first sloka, First lesson that the Krishna actually started teaching in the Bhagavad Gita is in chapter 2, verse 11. Asoshan anvasoshastvam prajnavadam scha bhashase gatasun agatasun nanu soshanti panditaha. You are grieving for things that you shouldn't grieve. One who is in knowledge will not grieve for one who has gone or who have yet to go. Okay, you can make a reference, Gita 2.11 on that. Okay, so Rama is telling Vibhishana, it is not right you should grieve for Vibhishana. For a mighty warrior fallen on a battlefield, victory is a monopoly of none. A hero is either slain in battle or he kills his opponent. Just like what Krishna also mentioned to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Hence, our ancient decree that a warrior who is killed in a combat should not be mourned. Get up and consider what is to be done next. Then, when Ravana fell, when they all his consort heard about that, they also came. And Vibhishana also regained his composure and said to Rama, this Ravana used to give a lot in charity. He enjoyed life, he maintained his servants well, he shared his wealth with all his friends, destroyed his enemy. All that he mentioned. By your grace, O Rama, I wish to perform funerals in accordance with the scriptures for his welfare in other world. Rama was delighted and said to Vibhishana, hostility ends at death. Take steps for due performance of funeral rites. He is your brother, as he is mine. That's from Rama. Okay. Then the woman folk of Ravana, all his wife, hearing his end, rush. They overcome by grief, they went their feeling. Okay, they wail. He who could not be killed by gods and demons has been killed in a battle by a man standing on earth. Oh, beloved Lord, surely you have abducted Sita and brought her to Lanka. You have invited your own death. Surely it is because of the death was close at hand. You did not listen to the wise counsel of your brother Vibhishana. You ill-treated him and exiled him. Even later, if you had restored Sita to Rama, this evil fate would not have overtaken you. Because you were driven by lust, you lie dead now. God makes people do diverse deeds. He is killed by the divine will, dies. Divine will. Divine will is the destiny. Divine will here is destiny. Here it says no one can float the destiny wheel. No one can buy the destiny or even bribe. Destiny is something that controls, but humans being have certain level of independence within that. Okay, that's another huge topic to look into, whether free will or destiny. Okay, destiny is there to some extent. Free will is also there to every individual. Everyone is being controlled. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita also mentions the three modes of material nature controls. Okay. So Mandodari now, Ravana's wife lamented. So she started lamenting. Oh Lord, no one in three worlds could conquer you. Even gods and their chief Indra could not face you. How is it a mere mortal has killed you? Then Mandodari says, surely this Rama is none other than the Supreme Being, without beginning, middle, or end. Okay, the greater than the greatest, eternal and unshakable. He alone has assumed this appearance of a human being for the welfare of the world. He is surrounded by gods in disguise of Vanaras, have previously conquered the senses. Having previously conquered the senses, has now slain you. So this one particular verse, if you go and read verse by verse in chapter 111 of Mandodari, one of the words she will be mentioning is that, oh Lord, when you perform tapasya, great tapasya, you conquered your senses. You managed to keep your senses under your control. You won over the senses. But now it seems that that senses that you have conquered is have taken revenge on you by conquering you. That senses that you have conquered when you did tapasya, O Lord, have taken revenge on you and have conquered you. He says, you have not been conquered by any enemy, but you have been conquered by your senses. Your senses is what? Refer back to the lesson from Ravana we learned. Okay, Sadripu. Always remember the Sadripu. List down the Satripu, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, all that. List it down. Look, you analyze yourself. Which one that you which one of the Satripus, the six enemies controls you more? Is it Kama? Is it Krodha? Is it Lobha? Is it Mada? Is it Moha, Matsarya? All that. Which one? You and that only then you'll be able to know. And how are you going to conquer it? How you are going to overcome it? Okay. All right. Now further it goes. Mandorari continues. When Tara was killed, Hanuman devastated. You see things are happening. It is not easy. Things that happen will not be favorable to you. That's why I say it's because you were doomed that you sought to seduce Sita. You were not immediately burned on that occasion because the god of fire was afraid of you. But the fruits of one's deed cannot be cheated. You cannot cheat. Whatever one does in the past, the reaction of that action that was done in the past will always come back to the doer. Remember in the Mahabharata, it says, Yada Denu Sahasresu Vasto Vindati Mataram, Tada Purva Krutam Karma Kartaram Anugachati. Just like thousands, even if there are thousands of cows, the cow will be able to find its mother. Even thousands of birds, many birds one have taken, the reaction of the previous action, past action will always be back, will always haunt an individual, will always find the doer. And Manparori continued further. It's actually a long chapter. Manparori, Vibhishana took refuge in you, surrendered to you. He is now enjoying good fortune. You who sinned against him are dead. Who you and those who have sinned against him are dead. It's unnecessary for you to have sought Sita. She by no means equal in beauty, ancestry, and culture. So here Mandorari is making this particular statement if you look at. But you sought your death by seeking her. Mandorari is saying, how happily we roam together on mountains. Now your beautiful form, and she should be narrating how they travel many places, roam together. Okay, now that your beautiful form has been shattered by Rama's missile, it is difficult to believe that you who were terror to the gods, demons, sages, ascetics, could reach this end. You departed carrying your own karma with you. She's crying. Mandodari is crying. Now I don't want to go detail. Okay, and other women trying to console her. Please do not give way to grief. Do you know that the fortunes of kings are fleeting? So Rama then urged Vibhishana to perform the funeral rites of Ravana. Earlier he said he will do, but later he started to change his mind. But again, Rama repeated his argument. Hostility ends with death. After the person have died, there is no more enmity. He is your brother and he is mine too. Let the funeral rites proceed. And then the funeral ceremony took place. Okay. And after that, Rama laid down his weapon, missiles, and then the ceremony is over. So Vibhishana, next one will be the coronation. Before coronation of Vibhishana, Rama returned to where the Vanara's troops had been stationed. He said to Lakshmana, "O Lakshmana, install Vibhishana on throne of Lanka as king of Lanka." So because Rama already promised Vibhishana when he surrendered that he will be made as a king of Lanka, and Rama fulfilled this promise. Vibhishana did not come for kingdom. See, Vibhishana Saranagati and Sugriva Saranagati are different. Sugriva came for a kingdom. He wants his kingdom. He wants Bali to be destroyed, and also he wants to get back his wife Ruma. But Vibhishana is different. Vibhishana came without any expectation. That is the difference between the two Saranagati. One is Sugriva Saranagati and Vibhishana Saranagati. So Vibhishana Saranagati Even when Vibhishana came to surrender, first day, first thing that Sugriva told Rama, don't trust him. He's coming from the enemy. How he can know? Then what do you call Rama definitely say, why Sugriva, you came also the same way. You want to destroy your brother Wali. But in case of Vibhishana, he came without expectation. So here Rama promised, fulfilled his promise. So Vibhishana was made the king of Lanka in accordance with the scriptural ordinance. Rama, Lakshmana, and others were like that. The Rakshasa leaders brought their tributes and offered to Vibhishana, who in turn placed everything at Rama's. But Rama then said to Hanuman, please go with the permission of King Vibhishana. Vibhishana now become Maharaja Vibhishana. Okay, to Sita and inform her of the death of Ravana and the welfare of both myself and Lakshmana. And immediately Hanuman went to Ashoka Grove, Ashoka Vana. Grief-stricken Sita was happy to behold him. With joined palms, Hanuman submitted Rama's message and added, Rama desires me to inform that you can shed fear, for you are in your own home, as now Vibhishana is a king of Lanka. It's actually a very detailed communication that will be between what they call Hanuman and Sita. And Hanuman again demonstrate how competent he is in communication. That Sita herself will be astonished to hear Hanuman speak. Just like earlier in Sundarakandam, and then you also remember in Kishkintakandam, the first meeting between Rama and Lakshmana, Rama and Hanuman, Rama told Lakshmana, only one who has mastered the Vedas will be able to speak like Hanuman. So Sita was speechless for a moment, and she said, I'm delighted by the message that you have brought, O Hanuman, and I'm rendered speechless by it. I only regret that I have nothing now to reward you or any gift equal in value for the joyous tidings that you have brought me. Hanuman submitted, O lady, the very words that you have uttered are more precious than all the jewels in the world. I consider myself supremely blessed to have witnessed Rama's victory and Ravana's destruction. And he goes further. Rama's victory is the best present that I have received. So there is no other present that I needed. Nothing I need. Even you'll find that Rama also will say at the end of Sundarakandam, and then if you look into the first chapter of Yuddhakandam, Rama himself said, at this moment, what you have accomplished, O Hanuman, is indescribe anything. I can't describe how happy I am for what you have you have told everything that you have done in Lanka. At this moment, I have nothing to give you except my warm embrace. Hanuman was thrilled. Remember in first chapter of Yuddhakanda, you have that particular where Rama mentioned there are three types of servant. The best one is one who goes further than what the master have instructed him to do. Okay, so this is how Hanuman, look at how Hanuman communicates. In fact, Sita was even more delighted. She said, only you can utter such sweet words, O Hanuman. Endowed you are with manifold excellences. Truly, you are the abode of all the virtues. And Hanuman said, please give me leave to kill all the demonesses, the Rakshasis who have been tormenting you for so long. But Sita replied, no, Hanuman, they are not responsible for their action. Carefully, you have to read these parts in chapter 113. What I'm giving here is a summary. They are not responsible for their action, for they were but obeying their master's command. Surely it was my own evil destiny that made me suffer at their hands. Hence I forgive them. A noble man does not recognize the harm done to him by others, and he never retaliates. for he is the embodiment of goodness. One should be compassionate towards all the living beings. Kapila Deva, Kapila, Lord Kapila, instructions to his mother, Titikshava Karunika, Shudra Sarva Dehinaha, Titikshava Karunika. The one have to be tolerant and compassionate to all the living beings. Compassionate to all the living beings, good and the wicked, or even those who are fit to be killed, who is free from sin. So Hanuman was thrilled. Sita will be narrating a story about a bear. That is another part. I did not include it. It's actually a long if I want to include all that. So read chapter 113. Translation is there from Krishna Sharma and also Valmiki Ramayana.net. Hanuman was thrilled to hear these words from Sita. He said, "Indeed, you are noble consort of Rama and is pure in virtue and nobility. Please give me a message to take back to Rama." And Sita replied, "Please tell him that I'm eager to behold his face." Assuring that she would see Rama that day, Hanuman returned to Rama. Then Hanuman conveyed Sita's message to Rama, who then he said to King Vibhishana, "Please bring Sita to me soon after she has taken bath and adorned herself." And immediately Vibhishana went to Sita and compelled her to proceed, seated in a palanquin to where Rama was. Okay. Vanaras and the demon gathered around her to look at Sita. Vibhishana, in accordance with the tradition, wished to ensure that Sita not to be seen by them. And he rebuked them to go away. But restraining him, Rama said, "Why do you rebuke them, O Vibhishana? Neither houses or clothes or walls constitute a wheel for a woman. The character alone is a wheel. Let her descend from the palanquin and walk up to me." So she did. Sita came. Now, Rama said sternly, "My purpose has been accomplished, O Sita. I have fulfilled my pledge. Ravana's wickedness has been punished. The extraordinary feat performed by Hanuman in crossing the ocean and burning Lanka has borne fruit. Vibhishana's devotion has been rewarded. Rama's heart was in a state of conflict, afraid as he was in public ridicule. See, Rama is later on, you have to read the commentary by Krishna Sharma. I'm not going to go through detail on the commentary because it's going to take a long if I'm going to go through one by one the commentary. But I have produced a commentary here in the slides. And I have also requested many of you to read this chapter in detail. Chapter 115 and 116, both 115 and 116, to look at it from how this particular incident has been reported by Valmiki. Just like when you study Valivadam. Of course, there are also other controversial areas when it comes to Uttarakandam. Uttarakandam, you also have banishment of Sita, Lakshmana, and also another incident of Sambuka incident, which we will, which as I said in the beginning, I will provide you with some commentaries on that. When I give you a commentary, first of all, when certain area related to controversial topics in Ramayana, I feel that I am not the right person to give a commentary. So what I will do is that I am taking commentary of some other scholars who have done commentaries. People who have done research on Ramayana, people who actually live in Ramayana, because there are many people who live in Ramayana. Every day they live Ramayana, their mind is always in Ramayana. So these are the people, when they give their views, we should accept these views. We should take these views. Okay, and also the commentators of Valmiki Ramayanas, Govinda Raja commentary, and also there are many other commentaries. You can find Srinivasa Sastri's commentary, many other commentaries are there. Okay, so Rama says, "I wish to let you know that all this was done not for your sake, but for the sake of preserving my honor. Your conduct is open to suspicion. Hence, Even your sight is displeasing to me. Your body was touched by Ravana. How then can I, claiming to belong to a noble family, accept you? Hence, I permit you to go where you like, live with whom you like, either Lakshmana, Bharata, Satruguna, Sugriva, even Vibhishana. It is difficult for me to believe that Ravana, who was so fond of you, would have been able to keep away from you for such a long time. I'm providing the summary. Read the chapter as it is. Okay. There are what I'm presenting here is a commentary from Krishna Sharma. Krishna Sharma's commentary. I'm not going to read through all the commentary, but it is there. Why? The question is that why did Rama feel on that day? Okay, sorry. What did Rama feel on the day when Sita was abducted? At that time, what was the condition of Rama? One, loss. His wife lost, and then shame. Rama cried out over the loss of Sita like any other ordinary man. Because you need to understand in Valmiki's narration, Rama is a human being, emotional human being, just like any one of us. And the cries of Rama is found in last part of Aranyakanda, in Kishkinda Kanda, much of the Kishkinda Kanda, and also in the beginning of Yuddha Kanda. And the incident made Rama hang his head in shame, as no one could not safeguard, as a one who could not safeguard his own wife. He was outraged that no one like him, scion of a great dynasty that ruled the earth, was challenged. So Rama kept his shame and rage to himself. So he could not speak up openly to his own brother Lakshmana. So it's interesting that Valmiki described at length how hopefully Rama weeps for a Sita in the forest and how Sita weeps for Rama in Ashokavana. But does not bring this underlying issue of taking a woman back who was at someone else's house till this point. At this point, nothing. Perhaps to let the dramatic turn of events play itself. Sita is already aware how important it is for Rama to restore his renowned glory. This is why she did not take up the offer. When Hanuman came to carry her back to Ashokavana, she did not follow Hanuman. She took the risk, but earlier there is a certain incident where she was thinking, Sita herself was thinking, I should have taken Hanuman's offer. That thought came to Sita's mind when Ravana came with a sword, wanted to kill Sita, when his son was killed. Okay, why does no one plead with Rama to reconsider his decision at that junction? See, at that time, when Rama said that, Rama had what? Lakshmana was there, Sugriva was there, King Sugriva, King Vibhishana, Jambavan also there. Nobody said anything. Nobody said anything there. But back in Ayutthaya Kanda, when Kaikeyi requested the two bulls, everyone from Dasaratha to Sumantara pleaded with her to reconsider her demand. But here nobody requested Rama to reconsider that. Why did neither Sugriva nor Vibhishana or Lakshmana or Jambavan or other elder did not plead with Rama to reconsider? Other elders are there. Susina, father-in-law, Sugriva, Keshari, father of and all that. Because Rama's decision is not driven by impulse or worry like it was the case with Kaikeyi's demand. Rama cannot see how he, as a scion of a famed dynasty, can take back a wife who has been touched by lusty Ravana and had been kept captive for a long time. And anyone understand this clearly as Rama does. Vibhishana could have asserted that Ravana did not touch her after lodging her in Ashokavana. But he himself could not watch for anything that was going in Ravana's place. Hanuman too only had glimpse of her life for one day and cannot watch for happenings all through the period in Ravana's place. Hence, they have no case to make against Rama's decision. Here, Krishna Sharma, I'm taking it from Krishna Sharma. Krishna Sharma says, Valmiki says a lot without saying. This is taken from analysis of Krishna Sharma. Then the next chapter, Sita was shocked. Rama's words wounded her heart. And she started to cry. Tears streamed down her face. Wiping them, she replied, "Oh Rama, you are speaking to me in a language of a common and vulgar man, speaking to a common woman. That which was under my control, my heart has always been yours. How could I prevent my body from being touched when I was helpless and under another person's control?" This is a reply from Sita. If you had conveyed your suspicion through Hanuman, when he came to meet me, I would have killed myself then and saved you all the trouble and risk involved in the war. And turning to Lakshmana, she said, kindle the fire. Prepare the fire, O Lakshmana. That is the only remedy. I shall not endure this. And Lakshmana looked at Rama and with his reproval kindled the fire. See, the Agni Pariksha, one of the things from Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana mentioned, Agni Pariksha was not something that Rama requested Sita to enter into the fire. It is Sita who requested Lakshmana to kindle the fire. What Rama said, of course, was harsh. He said, you can now go where you want to go. So, Sita prayed. Lakshmana prepared the fire. Sita prayed. Even as my heart is ever devoted to Rama, may the fire, Agni, protect me. If I have been faithful to Rama in thought, word, or deed, may Agni protect me. May the fire protect me. She said, in thought, word, and deed. The sun, the moon, the wind, earth, and others are witness to my purity. May the fire protect me. Then she entered into the fire. And the Devas who were present witnessed this. And the women who saw all this screamed when Sita enters into the fire. Sita entered into the fire. So, some notes to look into this particular chapter, chapter 116. Okay, in chapter 116, if you look at, it was Sita who wished Agni Pariksha. It was a wish of Sita for Agni Pariksha. So she said, "Oh Lakshmana, create a fire of fire for me, which is a remedy for this disaster. I no longer wish to survive smitten as I am with false blame." Agni Pariksha was to showcase the world the purity of Sita. Rama, being the king whose role was to bring justice so that no one can question Sita's character. But when you look at sometimes some people's comments and all that, over the years, Sita has been portrayed as somebody weak, needed to be rescued by a strong husband. But if you study Valmiki, she's not. She's a strong woman. She's a strong-willed woman whom Ravana could not even go near, because she was so pious, so devoted, that a fire would burn Ravana if he dared to touch her with malicious intention. That's why in Aranyakanda it is mentioned that when Ravana took Sita, he took just like Buddha, okay, took Rohini. Not with the intention, because otherwise he would have been burned. So she could have escaped with Hanuman to reach Rama. She wanted, but she did not do that. She didn't do that. Now, let's look at, we see sometimes I look at this. This is Adhyatma Ramayana. Adhyatma Ramayana is another text, Sanskrit to English. This is a spiritual version of Adhyatma Ramayana. And you also have Puranas like this is Padma Purana. Padma Purana, even Ramcharitmanas. Even many of you who follow Ramcharitmanas, you have it. If you follow, and then you also have other Puranas. The Puranas and many other regional versions. Like if you take in Malayalam, there is a version called Adhyatma Ramayana by Tinjati Yulutachan's Ramayana. They also follows what they call Adhyatma Ramayana. Now, these Ramayanas takes a different narration to this incident. They mention of Maya Sita, who is a shadow of Sita. Rama knows Ravana's intention. This is actually happens in Aranyakanda, even without Lakshmana. Lakshmana didn't know. Even Lakshmana won't know. Rama knows the intention of Ravana and orders Sita to place a shadow outside the hut for Ravana to abduct, and he go inside the hut and live in the fire for 1 year after Ravana's death. And after Ravana's death, she will be reunited with Rama. So Sita comes and creates her illusionary form, Maya Sita, and enter into the fire. And real Sita enters into the fire. The Sita that was abducted by Ravana was Maya Sita. After Maya Sita's Saigya was taken by Ravana, Rama agrees for Sita. It's unclear if Rama pretends. Actually, this here says Rama is acting. If you take Adhyatma Ramayana clearly mentioned Rama as a supreme being himself who takes that particular form and he acts like a human being. Adhyatma Ramayana is a Ramayana where it starts with a dialogue between Lord Shiva and Parvati. Adhyatma Ramayana starts with Lord Shiva and Parvati's discussion on divinity of Rama. First chapter itself is about so it is on the what you call Lord Shiva and Parvati describing about Rama. Okay, so here it's a Maya Sita that was taken by Ravana, and after Ravana's death, Maya Sita had to face Agni Pariksha. So the Maya Sita enters into the fire Agni, and the real Sita comes out from the Agni. So Agni reinstates Sita and declares that Rama created illusionary Sita to bring about Ravana's annihilation. With that purpose served, so Sita returns to Rama. So another Purana called Devi Bhagavata Purana. Okay, you want to do a search, you can search. Devi Bhagavata Purana states, Agni came as a Brahmana to Rama and informs Rama about the future. What are the things that are going to happen? When Rama will fulfill the purpose of his birth on earth and slay Ravana, Sita would be abducted by Ravana and would lead to his downfall. Agni requests Rama to hand over Sita to him and substitute her with Maya Sita. After Ravana's destructions, Sita would be asked to prove her chastity by entering the fire. Maya Sita will be replaced with the real Sita again, and Rama agrees to that. So Agni will meditate and creates Maya Sita, who looks perfectly just like original Sita. You remember in the battle, Indrajit also created a Maya Sita, but here Agni performs what he call did a tapasya, not a tapasya, meditates and creates Maya Sita, who looks perfectly like an original Sita. So Maya Sita and sweet Sita switch places and Agni disappears with real Sita, extracting the promise from Rama that the replacement of Sita remains secret. Not even Lakshmana knew. So Maya Sita longs for the illusionary deer, Maricha, when he came as a deer, and she was kidnapped by Ravana. And as per the plan, Maya Sita vanished in the fire at Agni Pariksha and real Sita came out. This is from Devi Bhagavata Purana. Valmiki Ramayana? No, not in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay. In another text, in Tamil text, that is Sri Venkatachala Mahatmyam. You go to Tirupati, you can even get this English translation. It's available. Venkatachala Mahatmyam relates Maya Sita to Vedavati. Remember in Uttarakanda of Ramayana, Ravana will try to molest Vedavati. And she will curse him that she will be reborn for her destruction, for his destruction, for Ravana's destruction. So what happened is that when Ravana touched her hair, she will cut her hair and then she goes inside the fire. Okay, she seeks protection of fire. Agni will console her and give her not only shelter but the opportunity to take vengeance, to revenge against Ravana. So he disguises, Agni disguises Vedavati as a Sita. So the Vedavati is the one who will come as Sita, who's going to be kidnapped by Ravana and hides the real Sita in his place. At the time of Agni Pariksha, Vedavati enters the fire, and Agni, when he comes, accompanies Sita and Vedavati out in the public. And Rama was perplexed to see two Sitas. Why there are two Sitas? The real Sita informs Rama that Vedavati was abducted in a place and suffered in Lanka. She demands Rama to marry Vedavati. This is mentioned, no? Here, Sita demands Rama to marry Vedavati. However, Rama refuses, citing his vow to have only one wife in this birth. So he promises that in Kali Yuga, when he appears at Venkateshwara, Vedavati will be born as Padmavati, whom he will marry. Padmavati will be born by Akasharaja, to Akasharaja. See, Venkateshwara, Vakula Devi will be the mother. Vakula Devi is none other than Yashoda, because Yashoda in the Dwapara Yuga didn't have the opportunity to witness the marriage of Krishna. So Krishna said, in Kali Yuga, you will be witnessing my marriage. So when that is where you get, that's another story altogether. If you do a search, you can find information on that. So the Maya Sita. Now, moving into the next chapter. Okay, chapter 115, 116, reread. Okay, for you to be very clear with an understanding. As I said to you, I cannot make commentary. I have to follow the commentary given by the acharyas, great teachers of Ramayana. Other teachers of Ramayana who have given the commentaries. Because of course, many things we can comment. We can do a comment, but I don't find it's worth listening to that. No, so it is better to get the commentaries given by people who live in Ramayana. Many people who live in Ramayana. In fact, some of you here who read Ramayana on a regular basis, you live in Ramayana. Okay? So Rama was moved to tears by heart-rending cries of all those women who witnessed the Sita going into the fire. At the same time, all the devas, gods, including the Trinity mentioned here, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, all appeared. Vishnu is there. Vishnu is Amja, Vishnu. Rama is there, but Vishnu, they can appear. Okay, all that. Saluting Rama, they say, you are the foremost among gods, yet you treat Sita as a common human being. But Rama replied, this is a very famous sloka. Rama said to them, I consider myself as a human being, Rama, son of Dasaratha. Who am I? Whence I am? May you tell me. Atmanam manusham manye Ramam Dasaratha atmacham. I consider myself as Manusha, human being. Atmanam manusham manye Ramam Dasaratha atmacham, son of Dasaratha. Who am I? Please tell me. Brahma then said, you are Lord Narayana himself. You are the imperishable cosmic being. You are truth. You are eternal. You are the supreme Dharma of the world. You are the father given to the chief of gods, Indra. You are the sole refuge of perfected beings and holy men. You are the Om. You are the spirit of sacrifice. You are that cosmic being with infinite heads. Purusha Shukta talks about 1,000 heads. Sahasra, Shir, Shah, Purusha, the supreme Purusha has 1,000 heads. In here he says infinite heads, hands, eyes. You are the support of the whole universe. In fact, the whole universe is your body. Sita is Lakshmi, and you are Lord Vishnu, who is the creator of all beings. For the sake of destruction of Ravana, you entered into a human body. This mission of ours has been accomplished by you. Blessed it is in your presence. Blessed is to sing your glories. They are truly blessed who are devoted to you, for their life will be attended with success. This is said by Brahma. Brahma himself appeared after Ravana had been killed. After Sita's Agnipaksha, Sita came out. And as soon as Brahma finished, God of fire emerged, holding Sita. Sita shone in her radiance. God of fire, who is witness of everything that takes place in the world, said to Rama, here is your Sita, Rama. I do not find fault in her. She had not erred in her thought, word, or deed. We always remember thought, word, and deed. Always watch our thoughts. Our thoughts are very important because from the thoughts comes word and then deeds too. All start from thoughts. All things are created twice, first mentally, then physically. Stephen Covey, thoughts. Even during a long period of her detention in the boat of Ravana, she did not even think of him. As her heart was set on you, accept her. I command you not to treat her harshly. Rama was highly pleased at the turn of events. He said, indeed, I was fully aware of her purity. Even the mighty and wicked Ravana could not lay her hands upon her with evil intention. Yet this baptism of fire was necessary to avoid public ridicule. For she was pure, she lived in Lanka. Though she was pure, she lived in Lanka for a long time. I knew too that she would never be unfaithful to me. For where we are non-different from each other, just like the sun and its rays. It is therefore impossible for me to renounce her. After saying so, Rama was joyfully reunited with Sita. Then Lord Shiva was there. Lord Shiva said to Rama, you have fulfilled the most difficult task. Now behold your father. Lord Shiva made Dasaratha to appear in front of Rama to bless him. Rama, along with Lakshmana, saw the great monarch, their father, shining by its own lustre, seated on a celestial vehicle. Dasaratha lifted Rama and placing him on his lap, warmly embraced him and said, neither heaven nor the homage of God is as pleasing to me as to behold you, O Rama. I am delighted to see that you have successfully completed the period of your exile and you have destroyed all your enemies. And here Dasaratha said, even now the cruel words of Kaikeyi haunt my heart, but seeing you, embracing you, I am rid of that sorrow, O Rama. You have redeemed my word. Thus I have been saved by you. It's only now that I recognize that you are the supreme person incarnated as a human being in this world in order to kill Ravana. And Rama said, quickly Rama said to Dasaratha, remember that you said to Kaikeyi, I renounce you and your son. Please take back that curse and may it not afflict Kaikeyi and Bharata. And Dasaratha agreed to that. And then said to Lakshmana, and he said to Lakshmana, I am pleased with you, my son, and you have earned great merit by faithful service that you have rendered to Rama. And lastly, Dasaratha said to Sita, my dear daughter, do not take to heart the fire order that Rama forced you to undergo. It was necessary to reveal to the world your absolute purity. By your conduct, you have exalted yourself above all women. Having thus spoken to them, Dasarada descended to heaven. See, Rama is lauded at Dharmatma, Mahatma. For one of the reasons here is that he is seeking forgiveness for Kaikeyi, who was the very reason for him to go through all the terrible trials and tribulation. Such is the character of a great man, Rama. I am taking this commentary from Krishna Sharma. If you say Kaikeyi wrecked his life for a reason, and yet Rama forgave her. And Ravana wrecked his life too. Rama's greatness lies in recalling that curse laid by Dasarada at that specific moment without losing himself in emotion of the moment when he was being reunited with Sita and even seeing his own father. Okay, now that part completed. The remaining one. Before taking leave of Rama, Indra prayed, "Our visit to you should not be fruitless, O Rama. Command me, what shall I do for you?" And Rama replied, "If you are pleased with me, then I pray that all those Vanaras who laid their lives for my sake come back to life. I wish to see them well, healthy as before. I wish to see the whole world fruitful and prosperous." And Indra replied, "This is an extremely difficult task, yet I do not go back on my word, and hence I grant it." All the Vanaras came back to life and be restored to their original form, and all their wounds were healed. Even as you have said, the world will be fruitful and prosperous. Instantly, all the Vanaras rose from dead and bowed to Rama. Others who witnessed this marveled, and the gods beheld Rama, who had their wishes fulfilled. Their wish was Ravana to be destroyed, and that was fulfilled. And the devas, gods, returned to their abodes. Now, the last part of today's session, the last chapter, Vibhishana requested Rama to take a bath, and he said, "You have ornaments to wear." Rama, however, replied, "What shall I show with the bath, ornaments now, without first seeing noble Bharata?" So he requested Vibhishana. Vibhishana wanted Rama to stay there for some time before leaving back to Ayodhya. But Rama said, "I cannot do that. I need to go and see Bharata. The time of the, what they call Vanavasa, that is the exile, is over. I have to go. Can you find a way we can return to Ayodhya?" Vibhishana replied, "Surely there is. I shall see that you return to Ayodhya within the course of a single day. I have the celestial aircraft called Pushpaka Vimanam, which my brother Ravana wrested from Kubera, the Lord of Wealth. It is with me, but for your sake, it looks like a cloud and is capable. It looks like a cloud and capable of flying you like a cloud in the sky. And with me, you can easily reach Ayodhya without any anxiety." And Vibhishana had the aircraft Pushpaka brought at once. It was like a big mansion. It shone like a sun. It was made entirely of gold and diamond. Even Rama was wonderstruck to see. If you remember Sundarakandam, chapter 6, 7, Hanuman also were looking at Pushpaka Vimana. Hanuman saw Pushpaka Vimana. There was a description about Pushpaka Vimana there in Sundarakanda itself. Okay. I think our time, okay, I'm almost coming close. Okay. Professor Gupta wanted to meet you for a few minutes. I think, I'm sure she's here. Okay. So as usual, every session, once you have completed the session, you look at what you have looked, what we have covered in this session. Especially the first part, we learn about Ravana, lessons that we can take from Ravana. There are about 10 lessons that we can take from Ravana. What are the lessons? You can go through the slides that I have shared with you. You can go through it. if you are able to apply in your life, the most important thing is application in our life. Read Ramayana. Regular reading of Ramayana, as I said to you, is very auspicious. Okay, I'm sure before coming for class, you all read the preliminary readings. So because at the end of maybe the next week, we are going to end. Once we have ended, you should have read up to coronation. That is the completion of Buddha Yuddhakanda. That is sixth book of Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, so as usual, we are going to end it with a prayer. Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tatulyam Ramanama Varanani. Okay, is Professor Gupta is with let me stop share. Okay, so I'll pass it to.
Jai Shri Ram.
Okay.
Yes, Ram. Yes,
Jai Shri Ram,
Jai
sir.
Shri Ram.
Yes, Shri Ram.
Okay.
Professor, thank you so much. सबको बहुत बहुत प्रणाम. जय श्री राम आप सबको.
जय श्री राम सबको.
Professor. Jai Shri Ram. So that as they say, all good things come to end. So, unfortunately,
I'll leave in a moment. I think you want to have meet them. Yeah, sure.
yeah, I will. But let me tell you one thing before you leave, Bala.
Okay.
We are also doing parallelly Sundarkand class, and many of if I can use the word students, but we don't use word students. Use participants are common between two classes, and they say, look, after this, what is next? So there's a lot of curiosity to learn new scriptures, so now maybe we may want to take a rest for a week or two, and we need to think about to come up with a new scripture, and because there are people who. So with that thought, I will let you go, and thank you, Bala, again, and I'll come back next week also.
Okay. Thank you.
Jai Shri Ram.